I welcomed my daughter and her husband for the weekend. They suddenly fled without a word. I was confused until I found a hidden note. What I discovered changed everything. Before we continue, please write in the comments which country you're listening from. Enjoy the story. My name is Dorothy Washington, and at 65 years old, I thought I had seen it all. After 40 years as a registered nurse, 5 years of widowhood, and raising 2 children mostly on my own, I believed I understood people pretty well. I was wrong about the people closest to me. The call came on a Thursday evening in October. Jennifer, my youngest daughter, hadn't spoken to me in nearly 3 months, not since our last argument about her husband Marcus and his gambling habits. So when her name appeared on my phone screen, my heart skipped with hope. "Mom?" Her voice was different, softer than usual. "I was wondering, could Marcus and I come stay for the weekend? We really need some family time." I should have been suspicious immediately. Jennifer never asked for family time. Since marrying Marcus 5 years ago, she'd become distant, critical, always finding reasons why my small house wasn't good enough, why my cooking was too simple, why my neighborhood was too quiet. But hope is a dangerous thing for a mother's heart. "Of course, sweetheart," I said, already mentally planning meals and cleaning the guest bedroom. "I'd love that." They arrived Friday evening in Marcus's flashy red convertible, the one I knew they couldn't afford on Jennifer's teaching salary. Marcus stepped out first, all smiles and charm, wearing an expensive-looking suit that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. He'd always been handsome in a slick way, with his perfectly styled hair and practiced smile that never quite reached his eyes. Jennifer emerged from the passenger side, and I felt that familiar pang of maternal concern. She looked tired, thinner, than when I'd last seen her, with dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't quite hide. But she was smiling, the first genuine smile she'd given me in months. "Mom." She hugged me tighter than she had in years. "Thank you so much for having us." Marcus followed with an equally enthusiastic embrace. "Dorothy, you look wonderful. Retirement is treating you well, I see." I led them inside my modest 2-bedroom house, the same house where Jennifer had grown up, where my late husband Robert and I had built our life together. It wasn't much to look at from the outside, a simple brick ranch with a small front porch and Robert's carefully tended rose garden, but it was paid off, maintained with love, and filled with 40 years of memories. "Nothing's changed," Jennifer said, looking around the living room with its outdated furniture and family photos covering every surface. "Should it have?" I asked, detecting something odd in her tone. No, it's comforting," she said quickly. "Everything exactly as it should be." Marcus was already examining the family photos on the mantelpiece, picking up frames and studying them with unusual interest. "You've got quite a collection here, Dorothy. All these years of memories." 43 years in this house," I said proudly. "Robert and I bought it right after Jennifer was born." "And it's all yours now?" Marcus asked casually, too casually. "No mortgage or anything?" "Marcus," Jennifer shot him a warning look. "I'm just making conversation, honey. It's impressive. That's all. Most people our age are still paying mortgages." I made dinner that night, pot roast with vegetables, Jennifer's childhood favorite. As we sat around my small dining table, I noticed how Marcus kept steering the conversation toward money, my living situation, my health. Jennifer seemed nervous, playing with her wedding ring and avoiding eye contact. "So, Mom, how are you managing?" "Financially?" Jennifer asked suddenly. "I mean, with Dad's pension and everything?" "I'm managing just fine, sweetheart. Your father was very good with money, and I've always been careful." "But this house must be expensive to maintain," Marcus interjected. "Property taxes, utilities, repairs. It adds up. Have you ever thought about downsizing? Maybe something smaller, more manageable?" "I like my house just fine," I said firmly. The weekend continued strangely. They were overly helpful, insisting on cooking breakfast, cleaning dishes, doing laundry, things Jennifer had never volunteered for even as a child. Marcus spent a lot of time on his phone, making hushed calls in the backyard. Jennifer kept asking odd questions about my daily routine, my neighbors, whether I had anyone checking on me regularly. Saturday evening, something shifted. During dinner, Marcus seemed agitated, checking his watch repeatedly. Jennifer was practically vibrating with nervous energy. "Mom, you look tired," Jennifer said as I finished my glass of wine, which tasted slightly bitter, I noticed. "Why don't you go to bed early tonight? Marcus and I can clean up." I did feel unusually drowsy, more than one glass of wine should have made me. My nursing instincts kicked in, and I recognized the signs. The bitter taste, the sudden overwhelming fatigue, the way they were both watching me intently. "You know what? I think I will," I said, pretending to yawn. "But first, let me just use the bathroom." In the bathroom, I forced myself to throw up, as quietly as possible, getting rid of whatever they'd put in my wine. Then I splashed cold water on my face and returned to the dining room, pretending to be increasingly drowsy. "I'm so tired," I mumbled, letting my words slur slightly. "Can barely keep my eyes open." "Here, Mom, let me help you to bed," Jennifer said, immediately at my side. As they guided me to my bedroom, I heard Marcus whisper, "How long before it takes full effect?" "Give it 30 minutes, Jennifer whispered back. "Then we'll have maybe 2 hours before she wakes up." They tucked me into bed, and I forced my breathing to become slow and regular. After about 20 minutes, I heard them moving around the house, drawers opening and closing, papers rustling, Marcus's voice low and urgent. "Find the important documents, bank statements, insurance policies, property deeds, anything we can use." I lay there in the darkness, my heart pounding, as I listened to my own daughter and son-in-law searching through my private papers. After 40 years of caring for people, of being trusted with their most vulnerable moments, I knew betrayal when I saw it, but I never imagined I'd see it from my own child. They were planning something terrible, and they thought I was helpless to stop them. They had no idea that Dorothy Washington had survived 4 decades in hospital emergency rooms, had dealt with drug addicts, violent patients, and every kind of human crisis imaginable. They thought I was just a lonely old woman with a paid-off house. They were about to learn exactly how wrong they were. I continued to lie still, controlling my breathing while listening to every sound. Through my bedroom door, I could hear them, moving through my house like thieves in the night. The irony wasn't lost on me. They were thieves, just ones I'd invited in and cooked dinner for. "Check the desk in her bedroom," Marcus whispered. "Old people always keep important stuff close." "I feel sick about this," Jennifer's voice was barely audible. "You want to lose the house or not? This is our only option. She's got to have something valuable we can use." I heard my bedroom door creak open. Through half-closed eyes, I watched. Marcus tiptoed to my dresser, carefully opening drawers and rifling through my personal belongings. Jennifer stood in the doorway, wrapping her arms around herself like a scared child. "Hurry up," she hissed. "What if she wakes up?" "She won't." "That stuff you put in her wine will keep her out for hours." Marcus held up a folder. "Bingo! Insurance papers." They retreated to the kitchen, and I could hear papers rustling, Marcus's voice getting excited. "Dorothy, your mother is worth more than we thought. Look at this life insurance policy. Robert had a $500,000 policy." "That's already been paid out, Marcus. She got that money 5 years ago when Dad died." "But where is it?" "Look at these bank statements. She's got maybe $15,000 in checking. Where's the rest? Maybe she spent it. On what? Look around, Jenny. Nothing in this house is worth more than $20. The woman shops at thrift stores and clips coupons. That money is somewhere." I heard them opening more drawers, going through my kitchen cabinets. They were looking for something, and their frustration was growing. "We need those property papers," Marcus said. "If we can get her to sign over the house." She'll never do that voluntarily. That's why we need the power of attorney documents. Once we have those signed, we control everything. My blood ran cold. They weren't just planning to rob me, they were planning to take control of my entire life. As a nurse, I'd seen this happen to elderly patients. Family members who gradually took over their finances, their decisions, their independence. I'd always pitied those patients. I never imagined I'd become one. "The documents are in her bedroom safe," Jennifer said suddenly. "Behind Dad's picture, on her dresser. I saw her put papers in there once." I felt a surge of panic. Robert had indeed installed a small safe behind his photograph, and yes, important documents were in there, but they didn't know the combination. How do we get it open? Try. Dad's birthday, or their anniversary. Mom's sentimental about dates. I heard them returning to my bedroom. Marcus was trying different number combinations on my safe, muttering under his breath. October 15th? No. June 3rd? No. Come on. What would a sentimental old lady use? Try her birthday, Jennifer suggested. When's her birthday? There was a pause. I'm not sure. February something? You don't know your own mother's birthday? It's been a crazy year, okay? Try mine. April 22nd. They tried several. More combinations before giving up in frustration. I almost felt sorry for Jennifer. She really didn't remember my birthday. But then I remembered the bitter taste in my wine, and my sympathy evaporated. They spent the next hour going through every paper in my house. Tax returns, utility bills, old medical records from my nursing career. I could hear Marcus getting increasingly agitated. "There's got to be something we're missing," he said. "People don't just lose $500,000. Maybe she invested it somewhere." Then where are the investment papers? "Jenny, your mother is hiding something from us. Maybe she gave it away, donated it or something. Nobody gives away that kind of money. She's got it stashed somewhere, and we're going to find it." I heard them in Robert's old office, going through his filing cabinets. Robert had been meticulous about record-keeping during his 40-year career as an accountant, but he'd also been smart about protecting our assets. "Very smart. Look at this," Marcus said. "Investment statements from 15 years ago, mutual funds, bonds, some stock certificates, but nothing recent. Maybe she cashed them out? Or maybe she moved them somewhere we can't find them." They were getting closer to the truth than they realized. Robert hadn't just left me comfortable, he'd left me wealthy. But he'd also taught me to never advertise that fact. "The richest people," he used to say, "are the ones who look like they don't have two nickels to rub together." I heard Jennifer crying softly. "Marcus, maybe we should just ask her for help. Explain the situation." "And what? Tell her I owe $60,000 to some very unpleasant people who break kneecaps for late payments? Tell her that your teaching salary isn't enough to cover our lifestyle? She'll lecture us about responsibility and send us away with nothing. But drugging her. Marcus, what if something goes wrong? What if she has a bad reaction to whatever you put in her wine?" "It's just a mild sedative. I got it from Tommy. He uses it all the time for these kinds of situations." "These kinds of situations? You mean robbing old ladies? I mean getting what we deserve. Jenny, your mother is sitting on a fortune while we're about to lose everything. She owes us this." I felt a flash of anger so intense it took all my self-control not to sit up and confront them right then. I owed them nothing. I'd raised Jennifer with love, put her through college, helped her with her wedding expenses. I'd been nothing but supportive, even when I disapproved of Marcus from the very beginning. "We need a new plan," Marcus said. "Tomorrow morning, we'll tell her you're pregnant." "What?" "Think about it. She'll be so excited about a grandchild. She'll want to help us financially. We'll say we need money for a house, for the baby's future. She'll open up that checkbook. I'm not going to lie about being pregnant. It's not really lying. We've been trying, right? It could happen any day now. Marcus, this is getting out of hand. No. What's getting out of hand is the interest on what I owe. Jenny, if I don't pay these guys back, they're going to hurt me, seriously hurt me, and then they'll come after you. I heard Jennifer start crying harder. Despite everything, my maternal instincts kicked in. My little girl was in trouble, scared and desperate, but she'd chosen to solve her problems by betraying and drugging her own mother. There's got to be another way, she whispered. There is. We get those documents signed tomorrow. Power of attorney, property transfer, whatever it takes. She trusts you, Jenny. You're her daughter. She'll sign anything you put in front of her. And if she won't, we'll figure that out when we come to it. The menace in his voice made my skin crawl. They weren't just planning to rob me, they were planning to control me completely. And if I resisted, Marcus was clearly prepared to use force. I heard them moving around the house for another hour, collecting papers, taking photos of documents with their phones. Finally, exhaustion overcame them, and they settled in the guest bedroom. But I was wide awake now, my mind racing. I'd spent 40 years taking care of people, anticipating their needs, solving their problems. Now I needed to use all those skills to solve the biggest problem of my life. Marcus had made one critical error in his assessment of me. He thought I was just a lonely old woman with a paid-off house. He had no idea that Robert had left me not just comfortable, but genuinely wealthy. More importantly, he had no idea that 40 years in hospital emergency rooms had taught me exactly how to handle dangerous people. By morning, I would need a plan, because Dorothy Washington wasn't going down without a fight. I lay awake until dawn, formulating my strategy. At 6 a.m., I heard Marcus's phone buzzing with incoming calls. He answered in hushed, panicked tones. I know. Yes, I have it figured out. By Monday, I swear. No, please, just give me until Monday. When he hung up, I heard Jennifer ask, How bad is it? Bad. They're not playing games anymore, Jenny. It's Monday or... He didn't finish the sentence, but the fear in his voice told me everything. I waited until 7:30, then made noise getting up and moving around, playing the part of someone just waking up with a terrible hangover. I stumbled to the kitchen, holding my head. Oh my goodness, I groaned. I feel awful. That wine must have been stronger than I thought. Jennifer immediately rushed to my side, the picture of concerned daughter. Mom, are you okay? You went to bed so early last night. I barely remember anything after dinner, I said, watching their faces carefully. Relief flickered across Marcus's features. Let me make you some coffee, Jennifer offered, and some toast. As she busied herself in my kitchen, I noticed Marcus studying me intently, looking for any sign that I remembered their late-night activities. I made sure to appear confused and disoriented. Did you two have a nice evening? I asked innocently. We just watched TV and went to bed early, Jennifer said quickly. That's nice. I'm sorry I wasn't better company. While Jennifer made breakfast, I excused myself to use the bathroom and quickly sent a text message to Harold Peterson, Robert's old law partner and my attorney for the past 15 years. Harold, emergency family situation. Can you come by? This afternoon? Bring power of attorney documents and property transfer papers. I'll explain everything when you arrive. Harold's response was immediate. Of course, Dorothy. I'll be there at 2 p.m. When I returned to the kitchen, Marcus and Jennifer were whispering intensely. They separated immediately when they saw me. Mom, Jennifer said, her voice artificially bright. Marcus and I have some wonderful news to share with you. Oh? I sat down at the table, clutching my coffee cup and trying to look interested despite my hangover. Marcus took Jennifer's hand. We're trying to start a family. I blinked slowly, as if processing this information through a fog. A family? A baby? Yes. Jennifer's smile was so forced it looked painful. And we were hoping. Well, we were wondering if you might help us get started. Financially. We've been looking at houses, Marcus added. Bigger places, better neighborhoods for raising children. But the down payments are so expensive these days. I nodded slowly, playing my part perfectly. A grandchild. Oh my. How much would you need? Marcus's eyes lit up with greed. Well, for a really nice place, we'd probably need about $50,000 for the down payment. $50,000? I let my voice crack with shock. Oh my, that's a lot of money. We know it's a big ask, Jennifer said quickly. But you always said you wanted grandchildren, and we want to do this right. I do want grandchildren, I said quietly. More than anything. But I don't know if I have that kind of money just sitting around. Marcus leaned forward eagerly. But surely with Robert's life insurance and your savings. The insurance money, well, I've been very careful with it. Very conservative. I never know what medical expenses might come up, or if the house needs major repairs. Where do you keep your investment accounts? Marcus asked bluntly, earning a sharp look from Jennifer. What Marcus means, Jennifer said quickly, is maybe we could look at your financial situation together. Help you figure out what you can afford. That's very thoughtful of you both, I said. I suppose I could show you my papers, let you help me understand what I have. The transformation on their faces was immediate. Marcus could barely contain his excitement, while Jennifer looked guilty but relieved. Why don't we do that right after lunch? I suggested. I'll gather everything together. At exactly 2 p.m., the doorbell rang. Marcus and Jennifer were in the living room, surrounded by the few financial documents I'd strategically left out for them to find. Old bank statements, basic investment accounts, nothing that revealed the true extent of Robert's planning. I wonder who that could be, I said innocently, getting up to answer the door. Harold Peterson stood on my doorstep, briefcase in hand. At 72, he was still sharp as a tack, with steel gray hair and the kind of presence that commanded respect in any courtroom. Dorothy, he said warmly, then noticed my guests. I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, Harold. Jennifer, Marcus, you remember Harold Peterson. He was Dad's law partner. Marcus looked distinctly uncomfortable. Mr. Peterson, I asked Harold to stop by because of our conversation this morning, I continued, about helping you with the house down payment. I wanted to make sure I understood all my options. Harold caught on immediately. Of course. Shall we discuss your portfolio? Portfolio? Jennifer looked confused. Harold opened his briefcase and pulled out several thick folders. Dorothy, I brought the updated statements you requested. The municipal bonds are performing well, and the blue-chip dividend stocks are steady as always. Marcus's face went pale. Stocks? Bonds? Oh, yes, Harold said pleasantly. Robert set up quite a comprehensive investment strategy. Very conservative, very smart. Dorothy, your current liquid assets are approximately... He made a show of consulting. His papers. $847,000, not including the house, which is worth about $200,000 in this market. The silence in the room was deafening. I watched Marcus's face cycle through shock, greed, and calculation. Jennifer just looked stunned. 800,000? Jennifer whispered. Give or take, Harold said casually. Your father was an excellent financial planner, Jennifer. He made sure your mother would never have to worry about money. But Mom, Jennifer said slowly, you always said you were living on a tight budget. Clipping coupons, shopping sales. I am living on a budget, I said firmly. Just because you have money doesn't mean you should waste it. Your father taught me that. Marcus's brain was clearly working overtime. So you could easily afford to help us with the down payment? I could, I said carefully. But I'd want to. Make sure it was handled properly, legally. Harold nodded approvingly. Very wise. Any large financial gift should be documented correctly for tax purposes. Actually, Marcus said, his voice taking on that smooth, persuasive tone, what if instead of a gift, you just made Jennifer a co-owner of some of your accounts? That way, She could help manage your finances as you get older. Harold's eyebrows rose slightly. That's a significant step, Marcus. Joint ownership means Jennifer would have complete access to Dorothy's assets. It's just practical, Marcus pressed. Dorothy won't live forever, and this way, Jennifer could handle things if her mother became incapacitated. The word hung in the air like a threat. Harold glanced at me, and I could see he understood exactly what was happening here. Well, Harold said slowly, that would require power of attorney documents, very serious legal papers. I'd need to speak with Dorothy privately before preparing anything like that. Of course, Marcus said quickly. We just want what's best for Dorothy. I'm sure you do, Harold replied, but his tone suggested he wasn't sure at all. As Harold packed up his papers, he handed me his business card. Dorothy, why don't you call me tomorrow morning? We can discuss your options in detail. After Harold left, the atmosphere in the house changed completely. Marcus was practically vibrating with barely contained excitement, while Jennifer looked overwhelmed. Mom, Jennifer said quietly, I had no idea Dad left you so well off. Your father was a very smart man, I replied. He wanted to make sure I'd always be taken care of. Marcus was pacing now, his mind clearly racing. Dorothy, this changes everything. With resources like that, you could really help us out. More than just a house down payment. We could start a real estate investment business, maybe buy a few rental properties. That's getting ahead of ourselves, I said mildly. But think about it, Marcus continued, warming to his theme. Instead of that money just sitting in conservative investments, we could really grow it, make it work for the whole family. I nodded thoughtfully. It's something to consider, but I'd need to think about it carefully. Talk to Harold some more. Of course, Marcus said, but I could see the impatience in his eyes. When do you think you might decide? These things take time, I said. Maybe by next weekend, I'll have a better idea of what I want to do. That evening, I could hear them through the thin walls, whispering urgently in the guest bedroom. $1 million? Jenny! Your mother is sitting on almost $1 million. I can't believe Dad never told us how much money he really had. Forget about what your father did. This is about what we do now. This is our chance to solve everything. But maybe we should just ask her for help normally. Tell her about your gambling debts. And watch her lecture me about responsibility while people are threatening to break my legs? No way. We stick to the plan. What plan? The power of attorney. She's already thinking about it. Did you see how she looked when Peterson mentioned it? She's old, Jenny. Old people get confused about finances. They need help managing their money. Marcus, I don't think my mother is confused about anything. She will be. Trust me. I lay in my bed, listening to them plan my financial destruction, and smiled grimly in the darkness. They thought they were so clever, manipulating a lonely old woman. They had no idea that Dorothy Washington had spent 40 years dealing with manipulative people, and she'd gotten very good at it. Sunday morning arrived with an uncomfortable tension hanging over the house. Marcus was on his phone constantly, stepping outside for hushed conversations that grew increasingly agitated. Jennifer sat at my kitchen table, staring at her coffee cup like it held the answers to all her problems. Mom, she said finally, about yesterday? About the money Dad left you? Yes, sweetheart? I just keep thinking about how you've been living all these years. So simply, so carefully. If you had all that money, why didn't you, I don't know, travel? Buy nicer things? Enjoy yourself? I sat down across from her, choosing my words carefully. Your father and I learned during the Depression that security isn't about what you spend, it's about what you save. We lived through times when people lost everything overnight. Having money means nothing if you don't protect it. But surely you could have lived a little more comfortably? Comfort isn't about money, Jennifer. It's about peace of mind. Knowing you can handle whatever life throws at you. Marcus came back inside, his face flushed with anger. That was my business partner. He's getting impatient about our arrangement. What kind of business arrangement? I asked innocently. Import-export, Marcus said quickly. Very time-sensitive. Deals. Jennifer shot him a warning look, but he was too stressed to notice. Dorothy, Marcus said, sitting down heavily at the table. I need to be honest with you about something. I'm in serious financial trouble. The kind where people get hurt. If debts aren't paid, Marcus, Jennifer hissed. She needs to know, Jenny. Dorothy, I made some bad investments, got in over my head with some very dangerous people. If I don't come up with $60,000 by tomorrow. He let the sentence hang in the air. I could see the desperation. In his eyes, the fear that was driving all of this manipulation and betrayal. $60,000, I repeated slowly. I know it's a lot to ask. But with your resources, it's really just a drop in the bucket, and I swear to you, I'll pay back every penny with interest. How did you get into this situation, Marcus? His face flushed deeper. Does it matter? What matters is that your daughter is going to be hurt if I can't fix this. Is that a threat? No, of course not. I mean, these people, they don't just hurt the person who owes them money, they hurt families. Jennifer was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. Despite everything she'd done, my heart ached for her. She'd fallen in love with a man who dragged her into this nightmare. I see, I said quietly. And you thought the best way to handle this was to drug me and steal my financial information? The silence that followed was deafening. Marcus went, completely white, while Jennifer looked like she might throw up. What? What are you talking about? Marcus stammered. The bitter taste in my wine Friday night. The mild sedative you put in it. Did you really think a nurse with 40 years of experience wouldn't recognize being drugged? Jennifer buried her face in her hands. Oh God, Mom, I'm so sorry. You've been sorry this whole weekend, Jennifer. Sorry, but still planning to rob me blind. Marcus stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Now wait, just a minute. Sit down, Marcus, I said quietly, but there was steel in my voice that made him freeze. We're going to finish this conversation. Mom, please. Jennifer sobbed. We were desperate. Marcus owes these terrible people, and they said they'd hurt me too if he didn't pay. We didn't know what else to do. You could have asked for help, honestly. Instead, you chose to betray me. Because we knew you'd say no, Marcus exploded. You'd lecture us about responsibility and living within our means while I get my legs broken. So your solution was to take control of my entire financial life? To make me a prisoner in my own house? That's not... We wouldn't... Really? Because I heard you planning exactly that. Power of attorney documents, property transfers, complete control over my assets. What was the next step, Marcus? A nice nursing home where I couldn't interfere with your spending? Marcus's facade finally cracked completely. You know what, Dorothy? Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad idea. You're 65 years old, living alone in this old house. Anything could happen to you. A fall, a stroke, dementia. At least if Jennifer had legal control, she could make sure you were taken care of properly. The way you've taken care of her? I love my wife. You love her so much you've dragged her into a life of crime, made her an accessory to elder abuse? It's not abuse. It's family helping family. I stood up slowly, feeling every one of my 65 years, but also feeling a strength I hadn't accessed in decades. Marcus, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I survived the civil rights movement, 40 years in emergency medicine, raising 2 children mostly alone, and 5 years of widowhood. Do you really think a pathetic gambling addict with delusions of grandeur is going to intimidate me? His mouth fell open. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to pack your things and leave my house right now. You're never going to contact me again, never going to ask me for money, and never going to threaten or manipulate my daughter again. You can't just... I can do whatever I want, Marcus. It's my house, my money, and my life, and I'm done pretending to be a helpless old lady for your benefit." Marcus turned to Jennifer desperately. "Jenny, talk to her. This is our only chance." Jennifer looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. "Mom, I know we did everything wrong. I know we hurt you and betrayed your trust. But Marcus is right about one thing. These people will hurt us if he doesn't pay them back. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you married a man with a gambling problem." "I love him, Mom. Despite everything, I love him. And I can't just watch him get hurt." I felt my resolve waver slightly. Jennifer was still my daughter, still my baby girl, even if she'd made terrible choices. "The $60,000, I said finally. "That's all you need?" Marcus perked up immediately. "Yes, that would solve everything. I'd never gamble again, I swear." "Don't make promises you can't keep, Marcus. But yes, I can give you the $60,000. Jennifer looked up hopefully. "Mom, really?" "On one condition," I continued. "I want a full accounting of every debt, every person you owe money to, every detail of how this happened. And I want Marcus to get professional help for his gambling addiction." "Done," Marcus said quickly. "Whatever you want." "I'm not finished. The money comes with strings attached, legal strings. Harold Peterson will set up a repayment plan with interest. And if you miss a single payment, I'll take legal action to recover the full amount plus damages." That's reasonable," Marcus said, though he looked less enthusiastic now. "And Jennifer," I turned to my daughter, "I want you to move back home for a while." "What?" "You heard me. I want you here, away from Marcus while he gets help for his addiction. I want time with my daughter without her husband's influence. I can't leave Marcus. You can and you will if you want my help. Those are my terms. Take them or leave them." Marcus and Jennifer looked at each other, panic passing between them. "How long?" Jennifer asked quietly. 6 months minimum. Time for Marcus to prove he's serious about recovery, and time for you to remember who you were before you became an enabler to his addiction." "This is ridiculous," Marcus said. "We're married. You can't just separate us like children." "I'm not separating you, Marcus. I'm giving you both a chance to save your marriage by dealing with the problems that are destroying it. If you're not willing to do that, then you don't really want to save anything. You just want my money." The kitchen fell silent, except for Jennifer's quiet crying. Marcus was calculating, weighing his options, and I could see him coming to the realization that he had no leverage left. "Fine," he said finally. 6 months. But I want the money now, today. Harold will have the papers ready by tomorrow morning. You'll get your money when everything is signed and legally documented. These people won't wait until tomorrow. Then you'd better call them and explain that you'll have their money by noon tomorrow, or find someone else to bail you out." Marcus stared at me with pure hatred now, all pretense of charm gone. "You know, Dorothy, you're not as smart as you think you are. There are other ways to get what we need." The threat was clear, and I felt a chill run down my spine. But I'd dealt with dangerous people before, and I knew the most important thing was not to show fear. "Are you threatening me in my own home, Marcus?" "I'm just saying that old ladies living alone." "Accidents happen," Jennifer gasped. "Marcus, stop it." "No, Jennifer, your mother needs to understand the reality of the situation. She thinks she holds all the cards, but she doesn't." I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone, pressing a button. Marcus's own voice filled the kitchen. "Are you threatening me in my own home, Marcus?" "I'm just saying that old ladies living alone. Accidents happen." His face went ashen. "I've been recording our conversation for the last 10 minutes, I said calmly, "along with everything else I recorded Friday night when you were planning to rob me. Harold Peterson now has copies of everything, along with instructions to turn them over to the police if anything happens to me." Marcus stared at me in shock, finally realizing that he'd been outmaneuvered from the very beginning. "You set this up," he whispered. "I protected myself, Marcus. something you should have thought about before you decided to prey on what you thought was a helpless old woman. Who are you? I smiled, and for the first time all weekend, it was genuine. I'm Dorothy Washington. I'm 65 years old. I've earned every dollar I have, and I'm nobody's victim. Now get out of my house. Marcus left that afternoon in his flashy red convertible, but not before making several more veiled threats and promises that this wasn't over. I watched him drive away from my living room window, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief that the immediate danger was gone. Sadness that it had come to this with my own family. Jennifer stood in my hallway, holding a small suitcase, tears still streaming down her face. Mom, I don't know how to apologize for what we did to you. Then don't apologize, Jennifer. Show me you're sorry by making better choices. I still love him, you know. Despite everything, I still love Marcus. I know you do, sweetheart. That's why you need time away from him. Love shouldn't make you compromise your integrity or betray the people who care about you. She moved back into her childhood bedroom that night, and for the first few days, we barely spoke beyond necessities. Jennifer spent most of her time on the phone with Marcus, arguing in hushed tones about money, about the separation, about the future of their marriage. On Wednesday, Harold Peterson called with an update. Dorothy, Marcus's creditors are very real and very dangerous. I've spoken with a contact in law enforcement, and they've been watching this particular group for months. Marcus owes money to some genuinely scary people. So he wasn't lying about that part? No, he wasn't. But Dorothy, there's something else. Marcus's gambling debts aren't his first brush with these people. He's been laundering money for them through a fake import business. The FBI is building a case. I felt my blood run cold. Jennifer doesn't know about this, does she? I don't think so. But if she stays married to him, she could become an accessory after the fact. That evening, I sat Jennifer down and told her everything Harold had discovered. Her face went through a series of emotions: shock, disbelief, horror, and finally, a kind of tired acceptance. I married a criminal, she said quietly. You married a man who made criminal choices. There's a difference. Is there? Mom, how could I not have seen this? How could I have been so blind? Because you loved him. Love makes us see what we want to see, not what's really there. Jennifer filed for divorce the following week. Marcus was arrested 2 weeks after that, caught in an FBI sting operation. The local newspaper ran the story with his mugshot on the front page. I folded the paper away before Jennifer could see it. As the weeks passed, Jennifer slowly began to heal. She returned to teaching with a renewed focus, threw herself into her work with the passion she'd had before Marcus entered her life. She started seeing a therapist to work through the guilt and trauma of what she'd been through. I keep thinking about that night, she told me one evening as we worked in Robert's rose garden together. When we drugged you, how could I have done that to my own mother? Because you were scared and desperate, and you let fear override your judgment? But you knew all along, didn't you? You were never really in danger. I was in very real danger, Jennifer. Not just physical danger, but the danger of losing my autonomy, my independence, everything your father and I worked for. The fact that I was prepared for it doesn't mean it wasn't a threat. She was quiet for a long moment, carefully pruning a rose bush that had grown wild during the summer. How did you know? How did you figure out what we were planning? 40 years. As a nurse teaches you to read people pretty well. I could see the desperation in both of you the moment you walked through that door. Marcus's expensive clothes that didn't match your financial situation, your nervous behavior, the way he kept steering conversations toward money. And then there were the phone calls, the hushed conversations, the way you kept asking about my daily routine. You set us up. I protected myself. There's a difference. The recording equipment, Harold's convenient visit with all those financial papers. I called Harold Friday night, after you drugged me, told him exactly what was happening and what I needed him to bring. The recording equipment I've had for years, a gift from Robert when I was working night shifts and he worried about my safety. Jennifer shook her head in amazement. You're not the helpless old lady we thought you were. I never was, sweetheart. I just let people think I was when it served my purposes. 6 months after Marcus's arrest, Jennifer moved into her own apartment across town. She was stronger now, more confident, more like the daughter I'd raised before. Marcus's influence had warped her judgment. I want to pay you back, she said as we packed her things. Not just the money you gave Marcus, although I'll pay that back too, but for everything else. For violating your trust, for putting you in danger, for being such a terrible daughter. You weren't a terrible daughter, Jennifer. You were a daughter in trouble who made bad choices. We all make bad choices sometimes. Not like this. No, not like this. But you've learned from it, and that's what matters. She was quiet as she folded clothes into boxes, then said suddenly, Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you lonely? Living here by yourself, I mean. Now that Marcus is gone and I'm moving out again. Are you lonely? I thought about it carefully. Sometimes. But loneliness and being alone aren't the same thing. I'd rather be alone and safe than surrounded by people who want to use me. But you don't have to be alone. You have resources now, options. You could travel, meet new people, maybe even date again. I laughed at that. Date? At 65? Why not? You're smart, independent, financially secure. You're a catch, Mom. We'll see. Right now, I'm enjoying being Dorothy Washington, not somebody's wife or mother or victim. Just me. Jennifer hugged me then. A real hug, the kind she used to give. Me when she was little. I'm proud of you, she said, for standing up to us, for protecting yourself, for being so much stronger than we gave you credit for. I'm proud of you too, for choosing to leave Marcus, for getting help, for rebuilding your life. After Jennifer left, I sat in my quiet house and thought about everything that had happened. 6 months ago, I'd thought my biggest challenge was filling my days with purpose after retirement. Now I knew that my real challenge was much bigger, figuring out who I wanted to be in this next phase of my life. I started small. I joined the hospital auxiliary, volunteering in the children's ward. I took a watercolor painting class at the community center. I even went on a few dates with a retired doctor I met at a medical conference. Nothing serious, but pleasant companionship. But the biggest change was in how I saw myself. For 40 years, I'd defined myself by taking care of other people. Now I was learning to take care of myself, to value my own needs and wants, to see my life as something worth protecting and cherishing. A year later, Jennifer brought her new boyfriend to dinner, a high school history teacher named David who treated her with respect and kindness. As I watched them together, I could see that she'd learned to recognize the difference between love and manipulation, between partnership and control. Mom, she said as they were leaving, I have something for you. She handed me a small, wrapped box. Inside was a silver pendant with an inscription, To the strongest woman I know. Thank you for showing me what real power looks like. I wore it every day after that, a reminder that strength doesn't always look like what people expect. Sometimes it looks like a 65-year-old woman in a modest house, quietly taking care of business and refusing to be anyone's victim. Sometimes it looks exactly like Dorothy Washington. The note that Marcus left behind, the one I found hidden in my guest room after he fled that Sunday, had been his backup plan. A confession of sorts, detailing his gambling debts and his plan to manipulate me into signing over my assets. He'd intended it as insurance, something to use against me if his first plan failed. Instead, it became the evidence that helped convict him when the FBI's case went to trial. I kept that note as a reminder of how close I'd come to losing everything, not just my money, but my independence, my dignity, my sense of self. It reminded me that predators often look like family members, that danger often comes dressed as love, and that the most important person to protect in this world is yourself. At 66 now, I'm living my life on my own terms. I travel when I want to, spend money on things that bring me joy, and surround myself only with people who treat me with respect. I've learned that being alone isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Being surrounded by people who don't value you is much worse. And if anyone ever tries to take advantage of Dorothy Washington again, they'll discover what Marcus and Jennifer learned that weekend. This old lady has teeth, and she's not afraid to use them. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. If this story touched you, please give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, stay healthy, and value yourselves.